Picture this scenario because I guarantee you have been here.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So you finally clear your schedule. You sit down at your desk to tackle that one crucial task, like the one that could earn you a massive promotion. Or maybe it's writing that book you've been dreaming about for years.
The big one.
Exactly. You crack your knuckles. You're ready. But right before you type that first sentence, a little voice in your head whispers, I'll just check my email real quick just to, clear the deck.
Oh, the famous last words.
It's always a trap. Then you peek at your stock portfolio. Then you open a new tab to look up like one minor fact, and suddenly, you know how it goes. You are 45 minutes deep into a rabbit hole reading about the history of maritime law on Wikipedia.
It happens so fast.
It really does. And that life-changing task you were so fired up about, it now feels physically impossible to start.
It is a universal modern experience and honestly an incredibly agonizing one.
Yeah.
You sit there watching your own potential slip away, fully aware of what you are doing, yet feeling completely powerless to stop the cycle.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We are tearing into Thibaut Meurisse's highly practical framework from the book Dopamine Detox.
It's such a vital topic right now.
It is. We need to figure out why you are constantly feeling restless, why your ability to focus has become, such a scarce commodity, and most importantly, how you can actually train your brain to do hard things again.
And setting the tone right away here, this is not a generic time management lecture.
Right, no planners or color-coded calendars today.
Exactly. Telling you to just put your phone away or buy a better planner completely ignores the fundamental biology of what's happening in your head.
Yeah, there's a real mechanical problem happening.
Right. We are going to break down how your attention has been systematically hijacked by modern society. And then we'll outline a highly specific biological and psychological protocol to reclaim it.
But before we can talk about detoxing from something, we really need to understand what it actually is, because almost everything popular culture tells us about dopamine is fundamentally wrong. People hear the word and immediately associate it with the feeling of, eating a cupcake or winning a video game.
Right. They think it's the pleasure chemical. But biologically speaking, from an evolutionary perspective, that is not its primary function at all.
Okay, let's unpack this. So what is it doing then?
Dopamine is actually the neurotransmitter of anticipation and action. It is the driving force that compels you to move.
So it's about the buildup.
Exactly. Think about our ancestors. Dopamine didn't reward them for eating. It made them anticipate the reward of food or reproduction so strongly that they were willing to, go out and hunt or forage or brave freezing temperatures.
Wow. Okay.
The craving itself.
So dopamine isn't the feeling of eating the delicious meal. It's looking at the menu and salivating. It's the movie trailer, not the movie itself.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Yes. And if we look at the neurological mechanism, something highly counterintuitive happens the moment you actually get the reward.
What happens?
Once the food is eaten or the goal is achieved, your dopamine levels plummet.
Wait, really? They just drop?
They drop entirely. The anticipation is over, so the chemical drive just shuts off. This explains that sudden sense of emptiness or lack of fulfillment you feel right after you get exactly what you thought you wanted.
Man, that paints a pretty bleak picture of human nature.
It's a bit jarring, yeah.
So we are essentially biologically wired to be entirely overstimulated, constantly chasing the next hit of anticipation, but neurologically prevented from ever actually feeling permanently satisfied by it.
That's why it is often called the molecule of more. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains the mechanism behind tolerance in all addictive behaviors.
Like not just chemical dependencies, right?
Right, not just drugs. When we talk about gambling, chronic rumination, extreme exercise, or even being a workaholic, the mechanism is identical.
So your brain gets used to that buzz.
Yes, your brain gets used to a certain level of anticipatory dopamine. To get that same motivational drive to act, your environment needs to provide a significantly stronger stimulus the next time.
You just constantly need to up the ante just to feel normal, which opens up a terrifying reality about the modern world. If dopamine is an evolutionary tool designed to keep us hunting for rare, life-saving rewards in a sparse wilderness.
Things that used to be very hard to find.
Exactly. What happens to our biology when rewards are suddenly everywhere? And not just everywhere, but engineered by trillion-dollar corporations to trap us.
Well, you get the modern attention economy. Marketers and tech giants spend literally billions of dollars to hijack this exact biological system.
Because they know how it works.
They understand dopamine far better than most of us do. Those red notification bubbles on your apps, they aren't red by accident.
Red means danger or urgency.
Exactly. Red triggers urgency and anticipation. The algorithms on Amazon, YouTube, Facebook, they don't just politely show you what you want.
They learn what hooks you.
Right. They use highly sophisticated prediction models to give you unpredictable variable rewards. It's just enough anticipation to keep you clicking, scrolling, and staying on their platforms in a never-ending loop.
Which translates to massive ad revenue for them, but massive procrastination and just a fried attention span for you.
A total mismatch of goals.
Yeah. But I do want to push back on something here, though, or at least get some clarity from the source material.
Sure.
Because the material touches on our biology regarding food, which is a huge part of this craving loop. Like, we are wired to anticipate rich, calorie-dense foods. And I constantly see articles online claiming that sugar is literally as addictive as cocaine.
I've seen those too.
Right. So are we dealing with an actual hard drug when we eat a candy bar? I want to make sure we're getting the science right.
It's a great question. The scientific community actually has a heavily debated and nuanced view on that exact comparison. We have to be careful not to just blindly accept viral online claims, so let's look strictly at what the experts in the material say.
Okay, what's the verdict?
According to biologist Suzanne Klaus, the combination of sugar and fat is uniquely effective at stimulating the brain's reward system. We have a profound innate craving for it.
Which the food industry heavily exploits by engineering processed foods to hit that exact bliss point.
They absolutely do. However, when examining the comparison to hard drugs, Dr. Ziodine, who is a psychiatrist at Cambridge, points out a critical mechanical difference.
Which is what?
While the reward circuits involved are the same, sugar does not chemically override and turn off your brain's normal satiety controls the way hard drugs do.
Oh, interesting. So it doesn't break the off switch.
Right. And Professor Tom Sanders from King's College London goes even further. He actually calls the cocaine comparison absurd.
Absurd, really?
Yes. He notes that while sugar is highly habit-forming, people do not experience opiate-like physiological withdrawal symptoms, like severe tremors or fevers, when they cut it out.
That makes a lot of sense. So it is a deeply ingrained behavioral loop, and it's heavily exploited by marketers. But the science strictly stops short of classifying it as a hard drug.
Exactly. We're trying to convey the ideas impartially here, and the consensus in these sources is that it's a powerful habit, not a chemical hijacking in the same way cocaine is.
Still, this constant bombardment, whether it is sugar or push notifications or infinite scrolling, it does something fundamental to our perception of time. I mean, it feels like we are losing the ability to think long term.
Oh, we absolutely are losing it. Chamath Palihapitiya, who is a former senior executive at Facebook, has explicitly warned that social media wires the brain for super fast feedback.
Because you get it like the second you post.
Exactly, because we are conditioned to expect an immediate dopamine hit every time we post a photo or send a message. We begin to expect immediate results in our careers, our relationships, our personal growth.
We just lose all patience.
The danger of this super fast feedback loop is so recognized in Silicon Valley that Steve Jobs famously prohibited his own children from using the newly released iPads.
That is wild to me. The very people designing the technology refuse to let their own families use it.
It's very telling.
That alone should tell you everything you need to know about what it does to the human attention span.
They understand that it destroys patience. And patience, the ability to maintain a long-term time horizon, is the ultimate predictor of success.
Oh yeah, the source brings up that Harvard study, right?
Yes, Dr. Edward Banfield of Harvard did a massive sociological study on upward mobility. He concluded that a long-time perspective is the single most important determinant of financial and personal success.
And there is a brilliant example of long-term thinking in the material focusing on Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
A classic example.
He founded the company in 1994, right? But they didn't turn their first full year of profit until 2003.
9 years.
9 years. He waited 9 years, deliberately taking massive losses, including a $149 million loss the year prior, just to net a $35 million profit in 2003.
He absorbed almost a decade of negative feedback and delayed gratification just to build that empire.
That is the complete antithesis of the super fast feedback loop. He was operating on an entirely different wavelength than someone checking their phone every 3 minutes.
Wavelength is the perfect word there, and it's crucial here, because knowing all this intellectually is fine,
Right.
But when you sit down at your desks to do the hard work, it physically feels repulsive. Opening a blank Word document feels like trying to walk through wet cement.
Yes. Why is that? Why does our body physically resist doing the thing we know we need to do?
It comes down to a mechanical mismatch in your brain's stimulation wavelengths. Imagine your brain operates on different frequencies of input.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
When you are rapidly clicking through YouTube shorts or watching a real-time stock ticker, your brain is writing a very high stimulation wavelength. It is receiving dense, rapid-fire dopamine hits.
And your brain's neural pathways just adapt to that speed. They expect the next hit in like seconds.
Precisely. But writing a complex report or studying for a degree requires a much lower, slower stimulation wavelength.
Because nothing is flashing at you.
Exactly. The dopamine hits are sparse and delayed. The gap between your current high stimulation state and the low stimulation state required for deep work is massive.
So it's the gap that hurts.
Yes. When you try to switch from a high to a low wavelength, your brain perceives the sudden drop in stimulation as an actual threat.
Wow.
It creates physical restlessness, that itchy, uncomfortable feeling, to urge you to go find the missing stimulation. That physical resistance is what we experience as procrastination.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because your brain doesn't just make you feel restless. It actively starts lying to you to prevent you from dropping down to that lower wavelength.
It's very sneaky.
So sneaky. Thibaut Meurisse outlines 4 specific tricks your mind plays to keep you overstimulated, and they are painfully recognizable.
Let's hear them.
The first is the lie that returning to work is easy. You tell yourself, I'll just watch one more 5-minute video to relax, and then I'll start typing. I can stop whenever. But you can't.
You can't, because watching that video keeps you on the high wavelength. The friction to switch to the low wavelength remains exactly the same, if not worse, after the video ends.
Right. And then the second trick is the illusion of, I can do it later. It sounds so rational in the moment, you know? I'm just not in the zone right now. After dinner, I'll have more energy.
The later never comes.
Never. But that specific thought pattern is how a single day of procrastination compounds into years of putting off your life goals.
It really is. And the third trick is a fundamental misunderstanding of emotion. Your mind insists that excitement equals fulfillment.
Oh, that's a big one.
It tricks you into believing that the rush of checking your newsfeed or arguing with a stranger online is somehow adding value to your life.
When it's really just noise.
Exactly. In reality, true fulfillment comes from peace, focus, and doing meaningful work. Excitement is just a temporary, volatile spike.
And then the fourth trick is the classic fear of missing out FOMO. Your brain manufactures this intense illusion that opportunities or breaking news are highly limited.
It creates a false urgency.
Yeah, it tells you that if you don't check your phone right this second, you will miss out on a vital piece of information that could literally change your life.
When, if we are being completely honest, missing one tweet or one trending news story has absolutely zero bearing on your actual day-to-day existence.
So if my brain is actively lying to me, creating physical discomfort and using FOMO against me, how do I fight back? I mean, I can't even trust my own internal monologue.
You fight back by deliberately lowering your stimulation baseline. You have to force your brain to get used to less noise so that those hard, low wavelength tasks become appealing again.
How do you do that?
If you starve the brain of high stimulation, it will eventually seek out low stimulation just to have something to do. This is the core mechanism of the dopamine detox protocols.
Okay, but we should probably put a scientific disclaimer on that term, right?
Yes, glad you brought that up. This raises an important question about the modern terminology. Scientifically speaking, a dopamine detox is a misnomer.
Because you can't actually detox from a chemical your body needs to function.
Exactly. We are not flushing the chemical dopamine out of your body, nor are we preventing your brain from producing it. What we are doing is drastically reducing external stimuli.
Okay, so it's a sensory detox.
By doing that, we are allowing your dopamine receptors to downregulate and resensitize. You are resetting your tolerance so that you need significantly less external stimulation to get the same natural motivational drive.
The framework lays out 3 different levels of intensity to achieve this reset. The most extreme is the 48-hour complete detox. And I have to admit, looking at the rules for this, it sounds like absolute torture.
It is a severe behavioral shock to the system. For a full 48 hours, you eliminate all external stimulation.
All of it.
That means zero internet, zero music, no movies, no processed foods, no social media. You aren't even allowed to do intense exercise because even that provides a massive endorphin and dopamine spike.
Wait, if you take away screens, books, music, and exercise, you are essentially leaving me with nothing but my own thoughts and a blank wall. What are you actually allowed to do for 2 days?
You are allowed to exist. You can do contemplative walking, light stretching, meditating, and journaling.
That sounds brutal.
The goal is to face the severe discomfort of understimulation. Around hour 4, you will likely feel incredibly anxious. By hour 12, your brain will be screaming for a phone. But if you push through, the baseline resets.
I can see how that works biologically, but practically speaking, who actually has the time to do absolutely nothing for a whole weekend? People have kids, jobs, obligations.
It is extremely difficult, which is why the author frames it with a fascinating comparison. He mentions a friend named Nils who completed a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat.
10 days.
10 days of absolute silence. No physical contact, no reading, no writing, no making eye contact, and no gestures.
Oh, wow.
When you compare 48 hours without Instagram in the comfort of your own home to 10 days of silent stillness, a weekend without a screen suddenly looks much more achievable.
That is a very fair point. It's all about perspective. But if the 48-hour version is still, too steep a hill, there is the 24-hour detox, which applies the exact same rules for just 1 day.
A good stepping stone.
But the most practical approach for most of us is the third option, the partial detox. This is where you target and remove your single biggest distraction.
Which requires a brutal level of honesty with yourself. You have to audit your own behavior.
Yeah, so think about your day right now, you listening to this. What is the one single thing that if you cut it out entirely would skyrocket your ability to focus?
Is one thing.
Is it a specific video game? Is it checking the news every 30 minutes? Is it TikTok? Identifying that one primary source of overstimulation and severing it can yield massive returns on your attention span.
But knowing what to cut is only the theory. The execution is where people usually fail. It is one thing to commit to a detox on a Sunday night. It is an entirely different battle to survive it on a Tuesday afternoon when your phone is sitting right next to your keyboard.
Yeah, that's the danger zone. How do we make the detox survive contact with reality?
By building rigid systems. First, you create a cans versus can'ts list. Write down exactly what behaviors are allowed and what is banned. Put it physically on your desk.
So you don't have to think about it.
Right. Don't rely on willpower, because willpower depletes. The real secret weapon for execution is friction.
Ah, yes. Weaponized laziness.
Essentially, yes. Human beings are fundamentally biologically lazy creatures. Evolution wired us to conserve calories and energy whenever possible.
Makes sense.
You have to use that biological laziness to your advantage. You must engineer your environment to make your bad habits incredibly difficult to do and your good habits incredibly easy.
There is a hilarious and just brilliant story in the material about the author's own struggle with internet addiction. He found himself constantly browsing when he should be writing, so he took his internet modem and physically moved it to a storage room in his building.
The amount of physical friction he introduced was masterful. Think about the mechanical steps required just to load a single web page.
It's a lot of steps.
He had to stand up, leave his apartment, take the elevator down 4 floors, and unlock 4 different doors just to reach the storage room.
That is 6 points of friction to get the modem and another 6 to get back. 12 distinct steps of friction.
And because the brain is constantly doing a subconscious cost-benefit analysis on energy expenditure, it calculates all those required steps, looks at the calories it will take, and just says,
You know what? Never mind. I don't want to check Twitter that badly.
exactly. The mind simply gives up on the craving because the friction is too high.
That is how you design an environment for success. You put your phone in a lockbox in another room. You use website blockers that require a complex password to disable.
Remove the ease of access.
And conversely, you remove all friction for the work you want to do. Have your research materials open and your desk cleared the night before, so all you have to do is sit down.
And when you do finally sit down, there is a specific way to structure the work to avoid burning out.
Which is?
You schedule your day with just 3 to 5 major tasks. You take the most important needle-moving task, and you do it first thing in the morning for 45 uninterrupted minutes.
Just 45 minutes of pure focus.
No emails, no coffee breaks, no checking in. Think of the author Stephen King. He sits at his desk at the exact same time every single day. He doesn't wait around for the muse to strike. He relies on the system and the schedule to force the output.
This plays directly into the concept of open versus closed systems, which completely changed how I view my workstation.
It is a critical distinction for maintaining focus.
Tell me about it.
An open system is anything with a continuous, never-ending supply of external stimuli. The internet, a social media feed, your email inbox. There is no biological end to an open system. It will feed you information forever.
It's an infinite scroll.
But a closed system has distinct boundaries.
Yeah.
A blank Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, a physical notebook. There are no algorithms or notifications popping up inside a notebook. It forces your brain to stay on that low stimulation wavelength and just do the work.
So an open system is like being forced to do your taxes in the middle of a noisy, all-you-can-eat Vegas buffet where waiters are constantly walking past your table offering new trays of food.
Good luck focusing there.
Right. But a closed system is having just one plate of food in a quiet, locked room. It is infinitely easier to just eat what's in front of you when there are literally no other options.
That analogy captures perfectly why checking your email first thing in the morning destroys your productivity. If you open your inbox, you have voluntarily wandered into the Vegas buffet.
You're doomed from the start.
Your brain shifts to a high wavelength, and your deep focus is shattered for the rest of the day.
Okay, so the detox resets our baseline, we've set up physical friction, and we are working in closed systems. But eventually, we all have to live in the real world. Stress happens. A relapse into bad habits feels entirely inevitable.
It is inevitable.
So how do we bounce back when we inevitably find ourselves doom scrolling again?
The most important psychological hurdle to clear is understanding that relapse is completely normal. Do not weaponize guilt against yourself.
That's a huge relief to hear.
You are fighting an uphill battle against a world that is literally engineered to break your focus. Your attention is worth billions of dollars to tech companies, and they employ the smartest behavioral psychologists on earth to crack your willpower.
But your focus is also the single most valuable asset you have for your own life, your income, and your art.
Exactly, which is why you need a contingency plan. Anticipate your worst-case scenarios. Know what emotional triggers like stress or fatigue lead to a relapse, and plan your reaction in advance.
So have a plan for when you fail.
Right. But on a daily physiological level, you need to actively cultivate what the framework calls the here and now neurotransmitters to counteract the dopamine loop.
Okay, wait, what are the here and now neurotransmitters, and how do they actually fight dopamine?
These are chemicals like endorphins, oxytocin, and serotonin. Dopamine is a chemical of the future. It forces you to look ahead, anticipate, and acquire.
Always chasing the next thing.
Yes. The here and now chemicals act on entirely different neural pathways. They ground you in the present moment. They signal safety, satiety, and contentment to your nervous system, which physically downregulates the stress and urgency of a dopamine craving.
So they basically cool the system down.
Exactly. They bridge the gap when your brain is demanding stimulation.
How do we trigger those stabilizing chemicals instead of reaching for a phone?
Through highly intentional grounding practices. Mindfulness is a powerful one. Even something as simple as eating a meal slowly, actively noticing the texture and taste of the food, instead of scarfing it down while watching a YouTube video.
Oh man, I am definitely guilty of the YouTube lunch break.
Most of us are. Physical stretching is another tool. It relaxes muscle tension and slows your breathing, signaling safety to the brain. Having deep, meaningful, undivided social interactions triggers heavy releases of oxytocin. But one of the most effective methods discussed is contemplative walking.
Now, how is a contemplative walk any different from just walking to the grocery store?
Well, when those people walk, they are entirely stuck in their heads. They're worrying about the next task, ruminating on an argument, or blasting a highly stimulating podcast into their ears.
Guilty again.
A contemplative walk means walking with the sole, deliberate purpose of noticing the physical world around you. Feeling the temperature of the wind, watching the structural shape of the clouds, actively listening to the ambient sounds.
Being present.
Yes, it forces your neurological attention out of the abstract future and into the physical present.
And the final method suggested is perhaps the hardest one of all. Embracing sheer boredom. Literally practicing the art of doing absolutely nothing. No intent, no destination, no external input. Just sitting and existing.
It will feel incredibly uncomfortable at first. Your brain will absolutely fight you. But pushing through that discomfort is the ultimate reset for an overstimulated nervous system.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize everything we've pulled from this framework, true productivity isn't about hustling harder.
No, it's not.
It isn't about drinking more caffeine or watching aggressive motivational videos at 5 in the morning. It is actually about intentionally slowing down.
That's the secret.
It's about mastering boredom and lowering your internal noise so that your brain can find the quiet energy required to do meaningful work.
If I can offer a final synthesis, we are biological creatures, wired by millions of years of evolution to relentlessly seek out rewards. But we suddenly find ourselves living in a modern ecosystem of infinite engineered empty rewards.
A dangerous combo.
In an environment like that, your greatest advantage is not hustle. Your greatest superpower is the discipline to walk away, deliberately lower your own stimulation, and rediscover the joy and fulfillment hidden inside the friction of hard work.
Joy in the friction. I love that. I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder today, building on everything we've unpacked. If your focus is literally the most valuable currency you possess, so overwhelmingly valuable that trillion-dollar companies are spending all their resources to mine it from you every second of the day, what incredible life-altering things could you build if you decided to keep all that currency for yourself starting tomorrow morning?
That is the defining question of our time.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. See you next time.